Hello everyone, I am Rahul Gaikwad, Associate Professor, Department of English, Maharaja Jivaji Rao Shinde Mahavidyalaya, Srigonda. Dear friends, today we are going to learn about the literary genre novel. Novel is a recent literary genre or form of literature, and it has been the most popular in the last 200 years. In the beginning, we will deal with the question, what is a novel? See, a novel can be defined as a long fictional prose. See, this novel says that a novel is written in prose. It is imaginary. It is fictional. Fictional means imaginary. It is not real. And a novel is always a long one as compared to other forms of literature. The famous Encyclopedia Britannica has defined novel as an invented prose narrative of considerable length and a certain complexity that deals imaginatively with human experience, usually through a connected sequence of events involving a group of persons in a specific setting. See, this novel highlights that a novel is a narrative. It is a narrative. It is a story. And it has been written in prose. The form of novel is always prose. It is never written in verse. And the novel is always invented. It is imaginary. It is not a reporting of something that has happened somewhere. But the actions and everything of a novel has been invented, though that might be based upon true things. See, the another characteristics that this novel highlights is its length. A novel has a considerable length. And it is complex. As far as its plot is concerned, it is complex. Because it deals with human experiences, the real human experiences, but those real human experiences has been dealt with imaginatively. That is that must be kept in mind. That though the experiences that has been related in the novel might be true, but they have been dealt with imaginatively. See, a novel visually deals with a group of persons, and those persons are set in a specific city. They are set in a particular place as well as time. See, we can further say that a novel is a long fictional narrative which describes intimate human experiences. It is normally written in prose form. Here, intimate human experiences means the mind of human being. A novel deals with the mind of the characters, the psyche of the characters, the human psyche overall. And as I have told you that a novel is always written in prose and it is extended. It has got quite a length, and it is a fiction. Fiction is just opposite to reality. See, George Lukács argued that the requirement of length is connected with the notion that a novel should encompass the totality of life. Mr. Lukács argued that the length is very much important in a novel, because a novel must cover the whole life. And in order to cover the whole human life, the total human experiences, it must be extended. It must be lengthy, because human experiences cannot be dealt with in a compact form, like an essay, for example. Now, the English word novel has been derived from the Italian word novella. Novella means a little new thing. The meaning of the Italian word novella is a little new thing. There is another meaning of novella, and it says that a novel is a short tale in prose. So, in the Italian word novella has two meanings. One is a little new thing, and the another meaning is that it is a short tale in prose. See, the word novella itself has been derived from a Latin word novellus, Novellus. This Latin word novellus means new. So the origin of the English word novel is in Latin, and it has come to English through Italian novella. See, a novel depicts the social, political, and personal realities of a place and period with clarity and detail not found in works of history. See, novel can be considered as an alternative history. It has been argued. Why? Because it deals with the social as well as political and personal realities of a particular place and time. See, in a history book, those books usually deal with the major characters, the kings, the prince, the princess, the chandras. On the other hand, most of the novel deals with the social, political realities of common people as well as their personal realities. So, a novel of 19th century can be trusted as a true history of common man of 19th century. For example, the novels of Charles Dickens usually dealt with the conditions of industry workers, and it can be said as the true social history of England of his time. In English, there is, though the word novel has been derived from the Italian word novella, the word novella itself has been derived in English itself. And now it has been applied to a brief novel. Okay, a brief novel has been termed as novella. On the other hand, a middle-length novel is called as novelette, Novelette. See, if we summarize the characteristics of a novel, the features of a novel, they can be as follows. First of all, a novel is a work of fiction. It is imaginative. It is an imaginative reality of a particular place and time. It is not real. Okay. The second thing that we can say that it has always been written in prose and not in verse. The next characteristics is that it can usually be divided into chapters. As you know that the length of a novel is very great. A novel is always a very long one. And so it has been divided into chapters for the convenience of the readers. The plot of the novel is relatively long and it is very much complex because the length allows the novelist to make it complex. Story of a novel or the plot of the novel develops through the actions as well as the thoughts and dialogues of the characters. So, a novel usually develops through the actions of the characters, the thoughts of the characters, the dialogues of the characters. See, in modern novels, what is going on in the minds of the characters is very much important. And so the novelist can spend a lot of time and energy to narrate the thoughts of the characters. And even there is a technique of narration called as the stream of consciousness technique that has been employed by James Joyce very successfully, as well as Virginia Woolf. In that technique, the psyche of the characters has been revealed. The magnitude, why a novel is a grand business, why it is, it is longer one. See, the magnitude of a novel permits a greater variety of characters. Due to its length, there might be lots of characters, dozens of characters. A novel can accommodate dozens of characters, even hundreds of characters, or you may say thousands. For example, in the famous novel of the Russian novelist Leo Tolstoy, there are hundreds of characters. And that novel is War and Peace. So, the other thing is that the magnitude of a novel permits greater complication of plot or plots. Okay, or the novelist can make his or her plot more complex due to the magnitude of novel. And the magnitude, the length also allows the novelist to develop the milieu quite properly. Here, milieu means the social conditions of a particular time and place. In addition to this social condition, the magnitude also allows the novelist to explore the characters and motives in a more sustained manner. Now, we will deal with the history of a novel. See, it has been argued that Tale of Genji, published in 1010, is the first novel of the world. And it has been written by the Japanese novelist Murasaki Shikibu. She was a woman, but she wrote the first novel of the world 1000 years before. See, this novel, Tale of Genji, has all the qualities of a novel. For example, it deals with the individual characters and their psyche. The characters have been developed quite properly, and the novelist also concentrates upon the psychological aspect of the characters. As far as if we consider the predecessors of English novel, then we can say that romances are the most important predecessor of English novel. romances are works of fiction whose main emphasis is on marvelous or unusual incidents. In a romance, these romances were very much popular during the medieval period. And in these romances, the hero, the romances were just like a picaresque novel. It deals with the hero. That hero was very adventurous one. And all these romances were about the adventures of that hero. As far as the history of European novel is concerned, Cervantes' Don Quixote was considered as the first novel of Europe. It was published in 1605. See, Cervantes was a Spanish writer. But if we move further, deep in the history, then we can say that Boccaccio's Decameron, which was published in 1354, is the single most important book in the history of European novels. In this book of stories, Decameron is a book of stories, there are 100 stories. And Boccaccio dealt with the various aspects of human life in all those 100 stories. And his book has been very much popular for the next many centuries. It is even available today in many bookstores. In English language, the father of English poetry, Geoffrey Chaucer, wrote his Canterbury Tales from 1387 to 1400. In Canterbury Tales, there are 24 tales written in prose as well as in verse. And we may say that it is the beginning of English fiction or English stories or English, stories written in prose form. As far as the proper novel is concerned, Daniel Defoe's Robinson Crusoe has been considered as the first novel of English language. It was published in 1719. This novel deals with the protagonist of the novel, Robinson Crusoe, and his adventures on an is considered as the first English novel of incident. But the first English novel of character or psychological novel is Pamela by Mr. Samuel Richardson. This novel has also been called as Vulture Rewarded. It was written in 1740. It is an epistolary novel, as the form of novel is a series of letters written by its heroine Pamela. It was a very successful novel. After Pamela, Mr. Samuel Richardson published his very long novel, Clarissa, in 1748. Clarissa was also an epistolary novel. In 1741, Mr. Henry Fielding published Shamela as a reaction to Samuel Richardson's Pamela. Then his next novel came, Joseph Andrews, in 1742 and Tom Jones in 1749. All of these three novels of Henry Fielding were very successful and popular. But He has been overtaken by the popularity of Tristram Shandy by Mr. Lawrence. Tristram Shandy, the novel Tristram Shandy was published during 1749 to 1762. It is a very long novel of having 9 volumes, published female novelist in the history of English novel is Jane Austen. His famous novels are Sense and Sensibility, Pride and Prejudice, Mansfield Park, and Emma. See, all these novels have been adopted by Hollywood, and they have made movies based upon Pride and Prejudice, Sense and Sensibility, and so on. So Jane Austen has been very much popular after 200 years or so. The first English science fiction was written by Mary Shelley, the wife of the famous romantic poet P.B. Shelley. And her novel, Frankenstein, which was published in 1818, has been called as the first attempt at science fiction. While dealing with the history of novel, we must mention the Bronte sisters, Charlotte Bronte, Emily Bronte, and Anne Bronte. Charles Bronte's novel Jane Eyre, published in 1847, is very much famous still today. But the real masterpiece is Emily Bronte's Wuthering Heights, published in 1847 itself. George Eliot was Though she was a woman, she assumed her pen name as George Eliot. Her famous novels are Adam Bede, The Mill on the Floss, and Silas Marner. Charles Dickens has been considered by many as the greatest novelist of English language. He was born in 1812 and died in 1870. His characters are still very much popular in English world. His famous novels are The Pickwick Papers, Oliver Twist, Nicholas Nickleby, David Copperfield, Hard Times, A Tale of Cities, and Great Expectations. He is still very much popular. William Makepeace Thackeray was born in India in 1811. He has been very much famous for his masterpiece, The Vanity Fair. His novel, The Vanity Fair, is in fact a satire. Now we will turn to the next novelist, which is very much important and popular in English literature. He is Thomas Hardy. He was born in 1840, and he wrote the famous novels like Far from the Madding Crowd, The Return of the Native, Tales of d'Aubervilliers, and Jude the Obscure. Thomas Hardy dealt with the dark side of life. After writing Jude the Obscure, he was too much distressed and he stopped writing novels after it. Few of his novels have been adopted for movies. Then comes the Scottish novelist R.R. Stevenson was born in 1850. His Treasure Island has been very much popular since its first publication, and it is still very well known in English-speaking world. The case of Joseph Conrad, the famous novelist, is quite specific. He was born as a Polishman in 1857. He could not read or write English till his early 20s. But despite it, he wrote the famous English novels like Lord Jim and the shorter novel Heart of Darkness. Rudyard Kipling is still very much popular and famous for his book, The Jungle Book. Through his novels, years in India, he propagated colonialism. Therefore, he has been criticized. Mr. E.M. Foster wrote 5 to 6 novels, but his A Passage to India is a unique one. This novel, Passage to India, deals with the colonial experience through the perspective of Indians. H.G. Wells has been very much famous for his scientific novels, science fictions, The Time Machine, as well as The Invisible Man. D.H. Lawrence was born in 1885, has been considered by many as one of the greatest English novelists. In his novels like The White Peacock, Sons and Lovers, The Rainbow, Women in Love, Mr. D.H. Lawrence deals with the physical relationship between a man and woman. He also deals with the psyche of that physical relationship. And he talked about the physical relationship quite openly and frankly in his novels. Therefore, he has been very much James Joyce is among the greatest of English novelists. Born in 1882, he came to light with the publication of his novel, A Portrait of the Artist as a Young Man, in 1960. But he got world recognition with the publication of his novel, Ulysses, in 1922. This novel has been considered by many as the greatest novel in English language in the 20th century. In his novels, Mr. James Joyce employed the technique of stream of consciousness. Virginia Woolf also made use of that technique in her novels. Her famous novels are To the Lighthouse as well as Mr. Dalloway. George Orwell published his Animal Farm in 1945, and he became an immoral figure in English novels. His Animal Farm has been very much popular still today. He also wrote the Grimm novel, 1984. Is an important literary figure in early 20th century English. His famous novel is Of Human Bondage, published in 1915. Along with Mom, Aldous Huxley was a major literary figure in early 20th century. His most famous novel is Brave New World, published in 1932. William Golding got the Nobel Award in Literature for his novel Lord of the Flies, which was published in 1954. This novel deals with a group of children. And in this novel, Mr. William Golding deals with the human instinct. Kingsley Amis published his Lucky Jim in 1954. And it is really a marvelous novel. The hero of Lucky Jim is a college teacher. As far as the American novelists are concerned, we must mention the name of Harriet Beecher Stowe. Her most important work of fiction is Uncle Tom's Cabin, published of Afro-American people. And it is believed by many people that Uncle Tom's Cabin is an instrument to instigate the American Civil War, because it highlights the problem of Afro-American slavery, the slavery of black people. Another important literary figure in the American literature is Henry James. His most important novels are The Ambassadors and The Turn of the Screw. Though The Turn of the Screw is not a full-length novel, but it is still very much popular. It is called as a novelette or a story, long story. William Faulkner has been considered as the most significant American novelist by many. His masterpiece is The Sound and the Fury, published in 1929. The next significant figure in American literature is Ernest Hemingway. His famous novels are The Word Man and the Sea, which was published in 1951, and A Farewell to Arms. As far as the Indian English novelist figure in Indian English novelist is R.K. Narayan. His famous novels are The Guide and The Financier Experts. In his novel, The Guide, he talked about the protagonist is Raju. And Mr. Vijayanand and Devanand made a movie based upon this novel of the same name, of the same title, Guide, in 1965. Along with R.K. Narayan, we should mention the names of Raja Rao as well as Mukh Raj Anand, though I haven't mentioned them here in my PPT. But it has been considered that the most significant or important novelist or accomplished novelist who was born in India of Indian origin is Salman Rushdie. He got world famous with the publication of his novel Midnight Children in 1981. The another literary figure who got world recognition is Arundhati Roy. She won the Man Booker Prize for her novel The God of Small Things. V.S. Naipaul was not Indian but of Indian origin. Then we should mention Kiran Desai for her novel, The Inheritance of Loss. The most famous contemporary novelist is Chetan Bhagat. But in addition to all these novelists, we can say that there are other Indian novelists like Anita Desai is there, Shashi Tharoor, Amitav Ghosh, Bharti Mukherjee, and so on. See, now we turn our attention to a different thing. While reading a novel, what should we do? What are the things that we should concentrate? We'll deal with it now. See, why to read a novel? You have to read a novel because you understand the life through the lives of others. As each and every novel deals with life, so the reading of novels gives us experience of the lives of other people. While reading a novel, you must use your imagination. And the reading must be for pleasure. And you are not going to study novel. Therefore, you just go through it with a lot of pleasure and therefore read it quickly. See, the details are not important in a novel. What is important is the big picture. And see, a novel is very easy to remember as compared to non-fiction work. See, good readers if you have got a prior knowledge, a background knowledge about a particular novelist or the novel, then you can easily predict. And it is very much exciting. To predict is exciting because, if you predict that this and this may happen to this hero at the end, and if you are accurate, then you will be very much happy. So, with this, we will conclude our lecture today. Dear friends, thank you.